Loved by everyone, black-capped chickadees are the cutest, toughest little birds that many are familiar with seeing coming and going to their feeders. Naturally, people have a few questions about these darlings. In this video, I'm going to answer a few of the top search questions about black-capped chickadees on the internet. Enjoy! Do chickadees mate for life? In fall and winter, chickadees live in flocks that consist of a dominant alpha male, a dominant alpha female, and several lower-ranking subordinate chickadees, usually juveniles. During this time in the flock, chickadees get to know one another and thus finding a potential mate before the breeding season arrives. Then in spring, all the birds go off, hopefully paired up, in search of a territory to raise a brood. Normally, the dominant male and female are already a mated pair, but if not, they'll likely come together as one. Each bird that has paired off will typically remain with that partner until one of them dies. Now, the life of chickadees isn't extremely long. The average lifespan is approximately 2.5 to 3 years, but many will live to 5 and even 10 years. In fact, the current longevity record is 12 years and 5 months old. When I first began my journey into birding, I met a lovely pair, Alpha and Marxine. I knew them from 2011 until middle of March 2015 for Marxine and middle of July 2015 for Alpha. Marxine had gotten really sick and didn't make it. Only then did Alpha move on with a new mate. Another pair I knew was Alpha and Marxine's little one, Tiny, and her mate, Tim. I knew them from 2013 until, sadly, Tiny lost her life in October 2018. Again, only then did Tim move on, and I've never seen him since. I've seen the same thing with another chickadee, Bud, whom I've known for many years now. He has stayed with each mate until they've passed on. It really do seem like they mate for life. However, there was one 8-year-long study done back in 2000 that revealed through DNA testing as well as using bird bands to help identify each chickadee that some birds, normally first-year ones, will sometimes split up. Usually this is initiated by the females. If a young female loses confidence in her current mate, she remains with him for the first breeding season but mates with other males as well, producing a clutch of mixed paternity. She and her mate incubate and raise the nestlings. However, before the next breeding season, she leaves her current mate and pairs up with another male of a higher social rank. This was seen more so in younger birds, first-year females to be more precise. So I guess it could be down to being inexperienced. Personally, from my observations over the last 10 years, I've never seen this, although I've only ever known 3 or 4 pairs very well. Interesting to say the least. I think it's safe to say, though, that for the most part, they stay with one mate for life, especially the more experienced and strong pairs. How do black-capped chickadees protect themselves? Chickadees are constantly scanning the area with their little sharp eyes for any danger. Not much is missed by them. Add that to the fact they hang out with many other chickadees that are also on constant lookout, chances of being preyed on is pretty low. If they should spot any predators, and they will, an alarm call is used. They are very vocal birds that have a lot of complex calls, many of which are used to alert others when there is impending danger near, thus helping to protect each other from hawks and other predators. The chickadee call is one they use quite a bit, a call they were named for. It's such an intricate call that when used in different ways, it can relay various messages to one another. For an example, if there is a large bird of prey like a great horned owl near, one that wouldn't be able to catch a quick and tiny little chickadee, they will still use the chickadee alarm call, but with only a few Ds added at the end of the call, and it wouldn't sound very intense, just repetitive. If there is a smaller hawk or owl, especially the northern saw-whet owl, these guys will go absolutely nuts, adding as many Ds at the end as 23. The intensity of the call would even alert a non-birder unfamiliar with birds if they were walking by at the right time. This call can communicate to one another if a predator is on the move or stationary, as well as how big or small, and even what kind of predator, like a cat, hawk, or pine marten for an example. With the predator exposed, there isn't much chance of it striking a kill. Another alarm call they use, often when they see a hawk flying by, is the high-pitched C. When this happens, they will normally communicate back and forth the Chickadee DD and the high-pitched C, as they stay very still, moving only their eyes. They will stay for a little while, carefully watching until finally fleeing for cover somewhere else, coming back out only when it's safe to do so. It really pays to have other sharp eyes on lookout, something they have for most of the year from late spring to winter. During summer though, when they've all split up, they have to rely on themselves, as well as neighbor birds sounding an alarm. One interesting thing about the chickadee alarm call is that all other birds and even small animals like squirrels listen up when they hear a chickadee alarm, so they also help inadvertently protect other animals. Where do chickadees sleep in winter? Anything more critical to a chickadee over winter than finding food is finding a good place to roost for the night. Winter nights can be long and cold, especially here in the northern regions. So being as small as a chickadee is crucial that they find a good, insulated place to rest over the night. It's thought that chickadees roost in dense evergreen groves sheltered from the wind and snow. Some may roost on top of branches of evergreens or low down in bushy young spruce trees. People have even seen chickadees flying under their eaves of their homes at dusk. A researcher, Susan Chabot, in Alaska, however, have found that they much more readily use roosting cavities in trees, especially that of birch trees. How she was able to figure this out was by equipping chickadees with transmitters and track them at dusk. Don't worry, the transmitters were small and didn't prevent the birds from being able to fly and maneuver around. All the chickadees she tracked used birch trees to roost in, and she has never seen more than one chickadee enter a roost. They tend to be fairly aggressive toward one another, so that may be why. Roosting in a tree cavity eliminates direct heat loss to the surrounding air. Researchers have found that roosting cavities used by chickadees are usually smaller than the nesting cavities they use. Not surprising since the birds want to be snug, losing as little heat to the surrounding air as possible. Chickadees that roost in a snug cavity tend to have bent tails in the morning, something that Chabot has seen, suggesting that they will cram their little bodies somewhere very small to escape the deep cold. She has seen chickadees at dusk diving into a hole in a tree the size of a quarter. So if you should ever see a chickadee with a bent tail in the morning, it most likely spent the night snug as a bug in a rug. Although Chabot has never seen more than one chickadee roosting in a cavity at one time, I have seen other sources saying that they do. I'm curious if anyone has witnessed this from black-capped chickadees. What do chickadees eat in winter? In winter, chickadees switch from eating mostly insects to consuming mostly seeds of native trees, like tamarack, alder cones, as well as berries and apples. In fact, it can be a common sight to see them hanging upside down on an alder cone as they feed on the little seeds inside. Chickadees will also eat from carcasses should they come across one. Insects may not be very plentiful when the snow is down and temperatures drop, but over the fall they have hid many different food items, including insects, into the trees within their territory. These cached bugs and other critters are retrieved throughout the winter as needed, and can be a big help to them during times of food shortages. There are also feeder birds. Backyard bird feeders can help sustain them over winter. Which brings me to the next most asked question. How do you attract chickadees? Attracting chickadees, especially the widespread and common black-capped chickadee, is as easy as setting up a hopper or tray feeder filled with black oil sunflower or safflower seeds. They will also eat unsalted peanuts out of the shell and suet. Another thing people ask is if chickadees will eat from a finch feeder, like this one the goldfinches love, and the answer is yes, they certainly will. However, I've noticed that if there are black oil sunflower seeds available as well, not only will the chickadees prefer to eat them, so too do the goldfinches. There is a high fat content in black oil sunflower seeds, and that's why birds tend to love them so much during the cold months. Which brings me to another question people wonder about. Is a chickadee a finch? No, they are not. But it's easy to see why people would ask that. They do look similar to a small finch or even a sparrow. American chickadees are part of the Chickadee family, a group of more than 50 small, stocky birds that you generally find in the woods eating seeds or insects. Chickadee species are found throughout the Northern Hemisphere and Africa. They're only called chickadees in North America, and were once called titmice. Chickadees are round small birds with their faces quartered into black or dark-colored throats and caps, and bright white cheeks. Their neck is short and head is large, which gives them that distinct spherical body shape. Tails are long and narrow, and their bills are short, a little thicker than warblers, but thinner than a finch's, like goldfinch for an example. So there you have it. Was any of these questions one that you wondered about before? And also I want to say thanks for all the video suggestions many of you gave me in the last video. Keep them coming. The more video ideas, the better. Thanks a bunch for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Take care. Happy birding.